Okay, today we are on lesson 2.3.2, which is reviewing the idea of Pythagorean theorem. I believe that most of us have seen the Pythagorean theorem at least once or twice before this, so this is a very good time to see how we can prove the Pythagorean theorem using some pictures. So this is kind of a pictorial proof of how Pythagorean theorem comes about. Okay, so let's follow the directions one at a time, and I think that will get us to have a very clear picture of how the Pythagorean theorem works and why it works. Okay, so let's follow the first question. What is the area of the unshaded square? It's asking you for this square right here, right? So looking at the picture, you see that one side is C, and because we know it's a square, the other side must be a C. So the unshaded part must be C squared, right? C times C, base times height, is going to be C squared. So it says moving the triangles within the outer square will not change the area of the unshaded square. Why or why not? So what happened in the next picture is they took this triangle and moved it around here, and took another triangle to match it up here, right? And then took these two and matched it up into a rectangle, right? So even though our white area, our unshaded square is now smaller, but it is only looking smaller because it got broken up into this little square and this little square. If you were to calculate it, it's still the same. And because we still stay within the big rectangle, the big square, right? No matter how I move the pieces, I'm still staying within the big square, the big purple square here. So in the second picture, even though the pieces move around, I'm still inside here. So nothing changed. I didn't take anything out. I didn't add anything in. So nothing has changed. That's why in this case, the area of the unshaded square did not change. So the answer would be everything stayed within the large square. No area change, right? Nothing went in, nothing came out. Okay. So what is the total area of the unshaded region in this second picture then? Okay, let's clean this up a bit because this is so messy. Okay, so it's asking you then, if in the first picture, my square is C squared, this region is C squared, right? Now it got broken down. What are the areas of the little squares this time? Well, if we take a look at previously, since it's still the same triangle from the first picture, the smaller, the shorter side is called B. So then this must also be B as well, because this is the same shorter side from that triangle, same shorter side from that triangle. So you have B here and you have B here, therefore this must be B squared. Same idea. If you have the long leg here to be the side A, so then this long side must also be A, and this long side must still also be A. Therefore, this square is A squared. So the shaded area in this second picture is now A squared along with the other piece, B squared. In part D, what are two ways to write the unshaded area based on part A and part C? So one way is to see part A that, oh, that area is C squared. Another way is to look at it as two little squares, which is A squared and B squared, right? So both of these represent the same area, therefore C squared must equal to A squared plus B squared. All right, you have just proved to yourself that Pythagoras was totally right, that the Pythagorean theorem works, and that the Pythagorean theorem is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Or in other words, some teachers don't like you memorizing A, B, and C, so you can call this leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared, right? Because the hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle. Okay. All right. Now that we are reminded, see, this should not be the first time, but now that we are reminded of what Pythagorean theorem is, we can use that to help us find any missing side of a right triangle. So here in this case, we have we have two right triangles. First thing I always recommend students to do is to recognize which one is the hypotenuse. That's actually the most important part. Once you have the hypotenuse, the legs don't matter which one comes first or second, but you really need to establish where the hypotenuse is. So first thing I do, I find the right angle and I go opposite of the right angle. Therefore, this must be the hypotenuse. That means the 4 and the 5 are legs. Doesn't matter which one's which, right? Because in the formula it says leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So leg squared plus leg, wrong number, plus leg squared must equal to hypotenuse squared. All right, so square root is 4 squared is 16, plus 5 squared is 25 must equal to x squared. So you get 41 equals x squared. And then because now you got to figure out what x is, you're solving for x and not square root of x. So square root both sides, you get x is equal to square root of 41. So if it says find the value of the variable, you want to give me the exact value, which is root 41. If you were to round this would be 6 point something. But again, it doesn't say to round, so this is actually our final answer. So x equals root 41 would be your final answer. Okay, and the second problem here, again, we start by recognizing where the hypotenuse is. Here is your right angle, and the opposite of it is 11, so my hypotenuse is 11. This is the hypotenuse. Okay. All right, then y and 7 are my legs. Again, doesn't matter which one's first, so it's really up to you. I'm just going to put y first, so y squared plus 7 squared must equal 11 squared. So leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. And then you get y squared plus 49 equals 121. Subtract 49 from both sides. Excuse me, you get 72, I believe, yes. All right, and then you square root both sides. You get y equals root 72. Now you cannot leave your 7 as you cannot leave your answer as root 72 because 72 is factorable. So you must factor this and simplify your radicals. All right. If you recall, simplifying means that you break it down to a factor tree. So 72 is 8 times 9, and then 8 is 4 times 2, 2 and 2, 3 and 3. Now that I got into prime factors, I take out pairs. So I have one pair of 2. I have one pair of 3, and I have a leftover 2. So cleaning this up, you have 6 root 2 as your final answer for your missing side of y. That's your answer. Okay? All right. So again, if it does not say round your answer to two decimal places or round your answer to nearest hundreds, you must leave your answer as exact value and it must stay in square roots like so. Okay? All right. So now let's take a quick look at the next problem. Part B says, find the perimeter and area of the rectangle. So remember, perimeter means we want the length around the shape, and then the area is the region it covers, so we need the base and the height. So really, we need base and height in both pieces, in both the perimeter and the area. So what do I have? Well, base is 6, that's pretty good. Height, oh, I don't have height. What is the height, right? I do have this hypotenuse, which is this side given to me. 15 is a hypotenuse here. Why do I know this is a hypotenuse? Because it tells me this is a rectangle. It's a rectangle, that means all the angles are right angles, and therefore this is opposite of the right angle, excuse me. Because it's opposite of the right angle, therefore this must be the hypotenuse. So this is the hypotenuse. All right, apologies for using h because it's recognizing height, base and height. If you don't like that variable, just change it to x if you're more comfortable with it. Okay? All right, now, first thing I need to do is figure out what that missing height is. So 6 squared plus height squared must equal to 15 squared. 15 is my hypotenuse in this case. 6 squared is 36 plus h squared. 15 squared is 225. H squared, okay, subtract 36 from 225. That gives me 171, 181, 171. Let's choose brain's not working very well today. Sorry, 189. 189. All right, so go ahead and root that, root 189, and you should recognize that, that could be still factored out. So let's factor some things out. I see that's divisible by 9. So if I divide by 9, I get 9 and 21, 3 and 3, 3 and 7. So I see that the only pair I have is a 3. So h is equal to 3 root. Since these two are staying behind, you got to multiply them together. So 3 root 21. All right. So 3 root 21 is your missing height here. So this is 3 root 21. Okay. Now let's answer the question. It wants perimeter and area. So the perimeter is at around the whole shape. So you have a 6 millimeter plus 3 root 21. And another 6 millimeter down here, and another 3 root 21. Okay, combine your like terms. 6 and 6 makes 12. You add them up. 3 root 21 plus another 3 root 21 is 6 root 21. You simply add the coefficient. You do not change the radical. All right. And this is perimeter, so my unit is millimeter. And that's your perimeter. Area is now base times height. So I take my base times my height of 3 root 21. When you're multiplying by a radical like this, you simply just multiply the coefficients. So 6 times 3 is 18. You get 18 root 21 square millimeters, right? Because this is now an area. Okay, and that's again how you use Pythagorean theorem in a slightly different way. You use it not as directly as before. You're going to use it to find other things that you need. All right, next one says, zoom out just a little bit. Draw a line AC with coordinates 2, 6 for A and 5, -1 for C. Then draw a slope triangle. Use the slope triangle to find the length of AC. Okay, that's a lot of directions. Let's start it one by one. Step 1. Let's draw AC with the 2 points. Okay, so AC is 2, 6, 2, 6. So apologies for it being on the tip, but there's your point. That's point A. C is 5, -1. So 5, -1, that's C. Okay, and I'm going to connect my line. So that's what I want, right? That's my line. Okay, then it says to draw a slope triangle. Slope triangle just means use slope, use rise over run to go to the next point, from one point to another. All right, so in order to go from A to C, I must go down and I must go right. Ooh, all right, so now that is a slope triangle. And the reason why we want slope triangle is it always makes a 90-degree angle, because your rise and run always make perpendicular lines, and they're always making the 90-degree angle, thus giving us a really nice right triangle. Okay, so it says now use the slope triangle to find the length of AC. So let's see, what was my rise? I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I went 7 down. And notice I didn't write -7 because, oh, I should. It's -7 because it went down 7. But it's length. So because it's length, you can keep it as a positive. But sticking with the algebra, we'll make it negative, right? Because it's down 7 for the rise and run. And then right 3. So it's a positive 3. Okay, so using a slope triangle, these are my 2 legs, and the hypotenuse here is my line AC. Okay, so I have leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. Okay, watch out for your -7. Your -7 is in the parentheses. You are squaring the whole thing, so that becomes 49, not -49. Okay, plus 9 equals hypotenuse squared. So 58 equals hypotenuse squared. So my hypotenuse is equal to square root of 58. Now I'm going to pause because I need to check real quick, see if I can break this down. 58 is even, right? So if you break it, you get 2 times 29. 29 is already a prime number. 2 is alone. Nothing can be broken apart. So you're done. You cannot break it apart anymore. So you need to finally answer your question to find the length of AC. So the way we write that is just the letters AC, no bar. No bar means the distance. So AC has a length of root 58 units, because we don't know what the units are. It could be meters, it could be centimeters, it could be miles. So we just leave it as units. Okay. All right. Last problem's kind of fun. The Garcia family took a day trip from Cowpoke Gulch. Their online directions told them to drive 4 miles north, 6 miles east, 3 miles north, and 1 mile east to Big Horn Flat. Draw a diagram and calculate the direct distance straight from Cowpoke Gulch to Big Horn Flat. Oh man, this is such a tongue twister. Okay, first thing, I need to figure out what my bearings are. Meaning, where is north, south, east, west, right? That's always the first thing I do, because I'm really bad with the directions. Okay, so first thing I do, off to the side, I draw a little bit of a direction here for myself. North, south, east, west. Okay, that helps a lot. Okay, so I'm going to start with, where do they start? So they're going to go north. So kind of have an idea. Okay, north is up, east is to the right, and then went north again, east. Okay, so it makes sense if I start my picture somewhere down on the bottom. All right, so this is where they started. Okay, so again, you don't have to be super precise with your picture, but just kind of have an idea of what you're doing. It will make your picture a little bit easier to work with, right? So they drove 4 miles north. So okay, went north 4 miles. Okay, 6 miles east. Oh, okay, so they went a lot further east, so a little bit longer than that. Okay, so 6 miles east, And then 3 miles north. Okay, so a little bit less. So 3 miles north. And then 1 mile east. Okay, oh, good. So this is 1 mile. Okay, so this is Big Horn Flat. And where did they start? Sorry, they didn't start. They started at Cowpoke Gulch. Okay, so the question is asking, what is the direct distance? And it even told you the straight distance, meaning how far is it from CG to BHF? Oh my gosh, Miss Chu, now you just created 3 right triangles. How am I supposed to work with that? You don't. You don't work with the small triangles. What the trick is here now, why don't we extend this line? And then extend this line. All right, extend this line. Okay, you see now I have a bigger right triangle. So again, the idea is to kind of see this picture. Okay, see this as, oops, sorry. I really like straight lines. Okay. Can you see this now, right? Hopefully it looks like the same thing. And the idea is that, okay, this is still CG. This is still Big Horn Flat. Okay, now the trick is how long is each side to help me figure out that distance, right? So the idea is that you remember this is a right angle because it made that turn, and then that it would be your hypotenuse. So your hypotenuse is the distance you're looking for. Now how long is each of the leg? Well, let's see. How long is this side right here? Well, that side is made of 4 miles and 3 miles, right? If you just push this line all the way there, you'll see that now that combined makes this 7 miles, okay? And then same thing, if you are now looking at the other side, this top side here, this leg up here, well, this leg was 1 mile, and then you push the 6 mile over here, so it combined it up, 6 miles and 1 mile makes 7 miles again. All right, so now how far away is Cowpoke Gulch to Big Horn Flat? Well, it's 7 miles squared plus 7 miles squared equals my distance I'm looking for, the hypotenuse squared. So 49 plus 49 equals hypotenuse squared. That's 98. And then you get root 98. Okay, we need to factor out root 98. And root 98 is even, so if you divide it by 2, you get 2 times 49. And root that, you get 77. So you see a pair of 7 and a 2 left over. So then my hypotenuse is 7 root 2. So the distance is 7 root 2 miles away. Now again, please make sure you know that it's not 7 miles. 7 root 2 is about 1.4. So if you multiply 7 times 1.4, you get roughly 9.8 miles away. So it is a lot farther than just 7 miles. Okay? All right. That's it for the lesson, and as always, you really should take some time to read through these methods and meanings. The second one on the bottom here is reminding you of parallel and perpendicular lines. So just remind yourself that our parallel lines have certain properties, right, and perpendicular lines, and so that their slopes, right, so their slopes are going to be a little bit different. So make sure you read through that. We already did some exercise with this in the earlier chapters, in the earlier lessons. So it's just kind of a reminder, a review, okay? Also here, this is the methods and meanings for today, the Pythagorean theorem. Just reminding you again that Pythagorean theorem is really leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. If you like memorizing a squared plus b squared equals c squared, that's fine. Just remind yourself that c is always going to be the hypotenuse. And last but not least, leave your answer in exact terms. See, it says root 39 is the exact answer, where 6.24 is an approximate. So make sure you read directions. If we want you to approximate, we will say round your answer to a certain number of places. Okay? All right, that's it.